Protests are escalating in two of Australia's largest cities.
The rallies in Sydney and Melbourne call for an end to Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories.
Clashes outside Sydney Town Hall as police used pepper spray and tear gas to contain crowds. Nearly 30 people were arrested, including 10 charged with assaulting police.
Mr. Herzog was invited to Australia for a 4-day visit in the wake of the Bondi Beach shooting in December. He laid a wreath at the Bondi Pavilion and met families of the victims alongside Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in Sydney. The Israeli leader will also visit Melbourne and Canberra. So for more on the visit and what's happening down under, let's speak with Eyal Mayroz, a senior lecturer, Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Sydney. Dr. Mayroz, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start by asking you, why, Anthony Albanese chose Isaac Herzog, who is, I'm sure he knew was going to invite protests, for what's happening in Gaza. Wouldn't a visit by, either one or both of the chief rabbis of Israel be more appropriate in the context of comforting the Jewish community?
Good morning. I think this is indeed the most important question to ask. At the time, shortly after the Bondi massacres, the Jewish community leaders approached Albanese and asked him to invite Herzog, who is the head of state of Israel, to support the grieving community. And Albanese at the time was under a lot of pressures from different sides. He was accused of not doing enough and so on. So he had difficulties in refusing the request. But as time wore on and it became clear that we're going to see this kind of showdown, I guess politically he had trouble rescinding that offer. The question is also, why did Herzog chose to pursue the invitation and the visit, knowing that this will happen? I think that was a mistake, both on the part of the Israelis and certainly on the part of the Australian government, because what we are after now and here in Australia is unity rather than division, and this visit is all about unity.
Absolutely. And Doctor, I wonder how significant is the fact that Jewish organizations themselves warned against this visit?
Look, the Jewish community in Australia is far from homogenic. So you have the Jewish organizations that warned against it and did not want the visit to take place are you'd call them maybe today progressives or left-leaning. They are not representing all of the Jewish community. So I think the community itself is divided over the visit as well as over Australia's response to the situation in Gaza.
And Dr. Mayroz, I'm wondering how you think this might affect the other mission, which I'm reading about, which is apparently an attempt to repair trade ties between Israel and Australia. We know, obviously, they've been damaged over the war, but also Canberra's recognition of a Palestinian state. I mean, do you think there's going to be any progress on this front?
Look, politicians listen to their publics. We still don't have the good feeling of what the larger Australian public is thinking about what has been taking place. There were 6,000 demonstrators in Sydney and maybe 6,000 or a bit more invited to Herzog's last night, his speech. So it is hard to know what the Australian public in large is thinking about it. Certainly there's a lot of anger in Australia about Israel's actions in the past as well as now even in Gaza, but I think the politicians will listen to the public and then decide what to do. The cards are on the table. Whether or not Israel will suffer the consequences of a strong backlash as a result of the visit, it is hard to know, but certainly it will have some impact on the public's reactions.
Yeah, domestically, Doctor, how do you assess the government's attempt to recognize Palestine, but at the same time hosting Herzog and limiting protests at the same time? What sort of tensions or contradictions does that create?
Look, I've been saying for a long time that a lot of countries, and Australia is not alone in that, have calculated or calibrated their responses to the situation in Israel and then in Gaza, the West Bank, and so on, based mainly on domestic calculations, how to get away with doing a little but maybe not enough. And I think this is what we're seeing now. It is hard to know what are the cost-benefit analysis results of the Australian government will be in terms of how they will react. I think governments should take stronger action. We lost the media's attention to a great extent of what is happening in Gaza at the moment, but there's still violence ongoing. There's still issues that require governments, international governments, to act more forcefully and keep the attention to try and pressure the sides to resolving the conflict and maybe marching towards a more peaceful future.
Doctor, I mean, given the mood, given sentiment, in Australia, and the fact that it's deeply divided, I mean, is there a way forward for Albanese? It feels like he's caught between a rock and a hard place right now, when it comes to the Jewish community. I mean, it almost feels like he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't as well.
I think you're right. I think there will be likely an investigation of last night's police violence. It is hard to know what went on there because we saw only, clips, but certainly there was police violence. The Australian government, or in this case, the state government, chose to invoke laws that are quite far-reaching in terms of what is allowed for the police to do, and this will be investigated. And as a result, I think the future of what is taking place and how the federal government under Albanese will react will also depend on that, I think.
And politically, Doctor, where does this leave the Prime Minister with dissent inside Labour and growing criticism from independents? What sort of political consequences could this create for him?
Well, there's a lot of things are happening in Australia at the moment. Yes, Albanese was kind of badly politically injured, if you like, after the Bondi massacres. But at the same time, the opposition in Australia, the political opposition, is not doing very well. So that is certainly helpful for him. I think the government is juggling a number of issues. Following the Herzog visit, I think that will subside and other things will come to the fore that will have a stronger impact on Albanese's future.
Okay. All right, Dr. Mayroz, we leave it there. Thank you so much for talking to us on the show this morning. Eyal Mayroz is Senior Lecturer, Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Sydney.